Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my September TBR video. So I know I normally don't do monthly TBR videos. In years past I have done October TBRs because obviously I have like a million books that I want to read every October. But I was going through all of the books that I wanted to read in September and I realized I have a lot of them. So I figured, you know, why not do a little September TBR video? I'm really excited about all of these. For the most part, they are all perfect for autumn. They're either spooky or cozy or just autumnal in general. So I'm gonna get into talking about these 12 books that I would like to read this month. So let's get into it. But actually, before we get into it, I would quickly like to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Ana Luisa. I have worked with Ana Luisa many times before and I absolutely love them. If you guys don't know, they are an online jewelry company and I wear so many pieces from them every day of my life. I have pieces that I've received from them over 2.5 years ago that are still in my everyday rotation. So their jewelry is super long lasting. I also love the fact that they have an amazing sustainability mission because they are completely carbon and climate neutral, and I just love their focus on the planet and how their products impact the planet. Also, to further that, so much of their packaging is made from 100% recycled paper or cardboard, or if it's not, it's been sourced from responsibly managed forests. And if you want any more information about their sustainable pursuits, they have a whole section about it on their website. And I know finding sustainable items can be kind of pricey sometimes, however they do have pieces starting as low as $39. I also love the fact that they offer free and fast shipping to anywhere within the United States. And even though all of their pieces are strength and humidity tested, they do offer a 2-year warranty on all products, so you don't have to worry. So let me quickly show you a couple of the pieces that they sent me. As soon as I got these 3 pieces of jewelry, I have not taken them off, honestly. So the first 2 pieces are actually the 2 silver bracelets that I'm wearing on this arm. I have like 4 silver bracelets that I wear every day and literally all of them are from Ana Luisa. The top one is the poetry bracelet and I just love how slim this one is and how it looks on my wrist. And then the one above that is the Elijah bracelet and I just feel like it complements the poetry bracelet so well. I just love how well all of Ana Luisa's pieces go together. I feel like they all kind of have a very similar vibe, so it makes it very easy to mix and match and choose your jewelry for the day. And then the other piece of jewelry they sent me was this little silver ring. I love silver rings so much, and also this ring as well is from Ana Luisa, but the one that I have on my thumb is just a very slim, like, basic ring. But it's called the Stephanie ring in silver. But I've been on the lookout for a ring for my thumb to kind of like complete my silver ring set, and I feel like this is just the perfect addition. So if you guys saw any pieces that you could potentially be interested in, I will leave a link to Ana Luisa as well as the 3 pieces that I showed you in this video down in the description. So thank you so much to Ana Luisa for supporting me and my channel, and to you guys watching as well for always supporting me and my channel. I appreciate you guys so much. So with that being said, it is now time to get into talking about all of the books that I want to read in September. So the first couple of books that I want to talk about are in the kind of spooky romance category. Now, I love spooky romance. It is just so fun. One of my absolute favorite books is spooky romance, so I'm always on the lookout for more books kind of in that subgenre. And the last couple of years, I have filmed a video where I read like spooky romance books. So obviously I want to do the same thing this year, and I always film it in September. So I have 3 books that I think I'm planning on reading for that video at the current moment. The first one being a reread that everybody should have seen coming, because obviously I want to reread The Ex-Hex. I read this for the first time in 2021 around the time it came out. It is one of my absolute favorite books. It's just so fun. You guys already know. And I love doing a yearly reread of it. Like, I feel like it's not the spooky Halloween season until I read The Ex-Hex. And to give you guys a quick synopsis, this book is following our main character Vivi, who is a witch, and 9 years before the events of this book take place, she is in this relationship with this guy named Reese, who is also a witch. And one night he's like, I haven't told you this, but like, I'm in an arranged marriage situation, like I'm betrothed. This isn't my fault, but like, it's a thing. But Vivi is obviously pissed about this, and she's like, get out of my house. So he leaves, and then later that night, Vivi and her cousin are like, what if we hexed him? And then they're like, no, that's a bad idea. But then obviously they end up doing it anyway, but they don't really think it works. Until 9 years later, Reese ends up back in Vivi's life, and a lot of things seem to be going wrong for him. Like, maybe he is potentially hexed. So it's like a second chance romance. They're working together to figure out what happened, what this hex is, how to fix it, all of that. It is set in the most perfect spooky Halloween-centric town. I absolutely love it, but I must do my reread. And then the next 2 books that I want to read for that video I don't currently have, but the first one is Wisteria by Adeline Grace. This is the 3rd book in the Belladonna series. I recently read the first 2 books in that series and I really liked it, and this is kind of like a gothic YA fantasy romance type of situation. I don't really know if I can tell you much about what Wisteria is about specifically because it is the third and final book in the series. But the series overall is following our main character Signa, who has a very complicated relationship with death, shall we say. Over the course of the series, we kind of see her dynamic with the personification of death. And in the first book in the series, she ends up moving in with some relatives, but when she gets there, she realizes that somebody might potentially be poisoning her cousin. So it's like a mystery kind of thing. The second book also kind of devolves into like a murder mystery sort of thing. So I'm quite interested to see how Wisteria is going to kind of wrap up everything in the series. I feel like based on what I read in Foxglove, it kind of seems like we're going to be shifting main characters a bit. So I'm quite interested to see what they are going to bring to the table because I think it's going to be a very interesting dynamic to kind of bring into this story. I just absolutely love the spooky gothic atmosphere that is present in this series. I feel like the second one kind of lost it a little bit. However, there is certainly still a decrepit mansion filled with spirits. So I'm really hoping for something along those lines in Wisteria as well. But even if there's not, I feel like it's still going to be very fun. And then the last book that is kind of in this general category is a book that I have seen around for a really long time, but I've never read it, but I feel like it's always a book that I've wanted to read. And that is The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon. I believe this book follows an undertaker and a marshal who apparently strike an unlikely friendship as anonymous pen pals, even though they hate each other in real life. That sounds so good, honestly. Like, it's giving me all the You've Got Mail vibes that I could possibly need from a story like this, so I'm quite interested to see what I think of this. But I believe it also takes place in a fantasy world, so I'm just really interested to see how all of those kind of elements come together and whether or not I like it. Then next up I have some books that are more on the spooky side. So the first one is The Whispering Dead by Darcy Coates. I've been wanting to read a book by Darcy Coates for quite a while. I know they have a ton of books and they're all like very spooky. Like, I know they have a lot of haunted house type books, which those I would really like to read as well. But I also know that there is this series, which is called the Gravekeeper series, and I believe it focuses on our main character, Kira, who ends up kind of living in an abandoned groundskeeper's cottage, and I think she can talk to spirits in some way. I don't exactly know what else happens in this book, but anything that takes place in a graveyard, I would absolutely like to read. Also, if I end up liking this book, I do have the second book, which is called The Ravenous Dead, so I'm really hoping that I enjoy the series because it sounds so spooky and atmospheric, so I'm really hoping it delivers and everything that I'm thinking it will. Then I also have what I believe is the conclusion to my favorite middle grade spooky kind of horror series, and that is Empty Smiles by Catherine Arden. This is the fourth book to the Small Spaces series. I have absolutely loved the first three books in the Small Spaces series. It's just such a fun middle grade series. Like, it is following our three main characters as they end up kind of getting themselves into all of these spooky, sticky situations. The first one follows them as they are going on this class field trip to a cornfield, and obviously spooky things are happening in the cornfield. The second one follows them as they go to a ski lodge, I believe, that has been like snowed in, and there are, again, spooky things happening in this lodge. And then the third one follows them as they're on this boating trip, and there are obviously, you guessed it, spooky things happening in the water, so I would assume this one has something to do with clowns. I don't exactly love clowns as a horror element. Like, I'm not scared of them, but they do absolutely nothing for me. You know, like, I feel very neutral about them. However, the third book in this series left me on a cliffhanger, so I have been waiting to pick up the fourth book in this series and see how things are going to potentially resolve for our characters. I'm not sure if this is the last book or not. Maybe I should look that up. Okay, it's a quartet, so I would assume this is the last one. So this can be kind of sad. I've been reading one of these every year for the last, like, 3 years, so this will be the conclusion. Well, hopefully it'll be good. I feel like it'll still be really good. And then I have a book from an author that I keep trying. I have yet to find a book from this author that I absolutely love, but I feel like there is one out there. And that is T. Kingfisher, because I would really like to read Nettle and Bone this month. This book I honestly have seen everywhere. I feel like so many people really, really like this book, so this is the one that I have the most faith in that I will end up enjoying. But I believe we're following a main character that is trying to save her sister, and she ends up going on this journey with a disgraced ex-knight, a reluctant fairy godmother, an enigmatic grave witch, and her foul familiar. And somebody described it as a marvelous romp. And I love things that are described as romps, so I'm really excited to get into this one, and hopefully I'll absolutely love it. Then I have 3 books that are still, like, September-ish books, but I don't really have like a category for them. The first one being The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. This is a historical kind of mystery following the daughters of notable literary monsters, because I believe we're following the daughters of like Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dr. Moreau, Dr. Frankenstein, so I'm really interested to see how I feel about this one. I feel like a lot of people really like this book. Like, I don't see a ton of people talk about it, but the people that I do, like, they love this book. But I've had this book since last year and I've really been wanting to get to it, so I'm really hoping I like it. But I believe we are following these girls as they discover a secret society of immoral and power-crazed scientists. So that sounds fun. I've also heard that like the narration style of this book is interesting, because I think the concept of this book is that this is being written by these girls, but like if somebody's writing something and one of the other girls doesn't agree, they'll like interject into the paragraph and be like, that's not how this happened, and like go off and correct them. And I just think that sounds quite fun. So I cannot wait to get to this one. And then this next book is a book that I cannot wait for because it is a new release that is coming out towards the end of September, and that is Graveyard Shift by ML Rio. I read A Career of Villains last year. I absolutely loved it, and it has become one of my absolute favorite books. And for a while, that was literally the only book that ML Rio had ever written, but it was announced that she was writing this novella, and I am so excited about it. Coincidentally, it also shares a name with my favorite episode of SpongeBob, so there's a fun fact for you. But this book I know absolutely nothing about, and I would really like to keep it that way. I just feel like going into this one not knowing anything, aside from the fact that we are following, I believe, 5 characters, and they're in a graveyard, like an ancient graveyard or something spooky like that. That's all I need to know, that's all I want to know, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I literally cannot wait. I feel like it's gonna be so good. And then the last kind of spookier book that I have on this TBR is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. I also don't really know much about this book, if I'm being honest. And again, I would kind of like to keep it this way. I know we're kind of following 3 different characters. I think our main character like has to get in touch with their ex, but like their ex is married, and that's all I got, honestly. But I know it kind of deals with like witches, the occult, something to that effect. I'm still not sure, but I read A Dowry of Blood last year, and like so many people, I loved it. So I've been meaning to read any of S.T. Gibson's new releases because I know they've had 2 this year, and I actually want to read both of them this fall. But I'll talk about the other one in a different video. I just know that in September I would really like to read Evocation. I feel like maybe I could kind of squeeze it into my spooky romance video because I know there is like a romance in it, I think. Maybe, potentially, I don't know, you let me know if you know. And then I do kind of have some books that don't exactly fit the September autumnal vibe. Well, like maybe one of these does, I don't know, but I just have like 3 books that don't really fit into any of the other categories, basically. The first one being another new release that I absolutely cannot wait for as well, because Yona of the Dawn volume 42 comes out on the 3rd of September. I'm sure you guys, if you've been here before, you know how I feel about Yona of the Dawn. I absolutely love it. I have so many volumes of it. And I will be acquiring volume 42 because the cover is absolutely stunning. It's got like little fall leaves on it. And like, obviously, if I'm gonna buy any volume of Yona, it's gonna be this one, because Yona of the Dawn is a 42 volume manga series, and I certainly am not collecting 42 volumes. So I have collected all of the volumes with covers that I like, basically, so I have like half of them probably. And this one will also be added to my collection because it is absolutely beautiful. But Yona of the Dawn, I've talked about it so many times, but you're following a princess whose name is Yona, who has to run away from her kingdom with her bodyguard Hawk. They meet some fun friends along the way. I love it so much. So I cannot wait to read volume 42. I do feel like the series has gotten slightly less enjoyable as the volumes have gone on, but I still feel like it's gonna be fun. And then the last 2 books are my 2 buddy reads for the month. So the first one being the Wyverns and Words buddy read. This is actually going to be the very last Wyverns and Words buddy read ever, like that we're doing live shows for, which is kind of crazy. But we're going to be finishing out the original Mistborn trilogy by reading The Hero of Ages. I am so excited to read the conclusion of this series again because the end of Mistborn Era 1, I didn't love the ending, but I'm quite interested to see if my thoughts on it change on a reread. I'm a little bit scared though because this book is so long. It is almost 750 pages, which is a lot of book, and I already have so many other books that I want to read in September, but I'm still excited to get to this one and finish out the series with everybody. I cannot wait to hear what you guys think as well. The live show will be on Cass's channel at the end of the month. We'll like announce that later. But yes, I cannot wait to reread the ending of Mistborn. And then I saved the best one for last because I'm very excited about this one. Because my Patreon buddy read this month is going to be another reread. I feel like I've had so many rereads on this TBR because this is the third one, but I just love a good reread sometimes. But I have been itching to reread The Lord of the Rings recently because I rewatched the movies and they were so good. So I was like, I should reread The Lord of the Rings because it's been like 4 years since I read them the first time. So I'm so happy that I got chosen as my Patreon buddy read because we're gonna be reading The Fellowship of the Ring together and I cannot wait. I also feel like high fantasy does kind of scream fall to me, especially The Lord of the Rings, so maybe this does fit well in this video. But I absolutely love quest-based fantasy and I feel like The Lord of the Rings is the reason for that, so I'm just really excited. I love a good traveling story. They're so fun. And I also just love the characters so much. Like, The Lord of the Rings, I don't have to tell you it's great, but like, it is great. And I know it's kind of like intimidating sometimes to start because it is very long, but it is absolutely worth it. I'm here to tell you that if you've been thinking about reading The Lord of the Rings, I highly recommend. Also, if you want a little bit of motivation, you could come join my Patreon and read it with us. I will be doing a whole little spoiler-filled reading vlog for it, which I cannot wait for. I'm also going to be doing reading sprints where we're going to be starting this book on the 1st of September, which I think is in a few days, so can't wait. Honestly, I just can't believe that it's almost September. I feel like it was March, and then I blinked, and it was the end of August. I was like, what happened? But honestly, in the best possible way, because I have been wanting it to be September for months, so I can't believe it's finally here. But yeah, tangents aside, we're reading The Fellowship of the Ring, and I will probably continue on with my Lord of the Rings reread throughout the rest of the end of the year. So those are all of the books that I'm hoping to read this September. It's kind of a lot. Like, I feel like 12 is on the upper end of the amount of books that I've been reading per month this year. However, I do like to kind of go all out in the fall with my reading, so hopefully all of this happens. I feel like it will. I'm gonna put my mind to it and I'm going to do it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would obviously love to know down below, what are some of the books on your TBR? Do we share any books on our TBRs for the month? Let me know, but if we don't, just tell me, what are you the most excited to read in September? Also, before we go, I would again like to thank Ana Luisa so much for sponsoring this video. I will leave a link to them as well as the few pieces that I showed you guys in this video down below. And I would like to thank everybody over on my Patreon. If you're ever looking for more content from me, that is always linked down below. But with that, I am going to let you guys go. So I hope you guys are all having an amazing Friday or whatever day it is that you're watching this video, and I will see you in my next one, which will be the first video of September, which is going to be like a little fall reset kind of thing. So I'm excited, so you should be excited, but I'm gonna stop yapping and I'm gonna go. Bye.